The red carpet shimmered under the spotlight as cameras flashed incessantly, capturing every glimmer of the Hollywood elite. At the heart of this sea of glamour stood Marilyn Monroe, her iconic smile radiating confidence as she posed for the crowd. She was dressed in a figure-hugging white gown that sparkled with every movement, her platinum blonde curls catching the light. Yet behind the mask of perfection, Marilyn felt a pang of emptiness. The applause, the compliments, the endless adoration, it all felt hollow. As she waved to her adoring fans, a thought whispered in her mind. They love Marilyn Monroe, but do they know Norma Jean? The dimly lit orphanage dormitory smelled of damp wood and faintly of ink from the newspapers used to insulate the walls. A young Norma Jean curled up on a creaky bed, clutching a tattered book of poetry. Her small frame shivered under a thin blanket, but her mind danced with dreams far grander than the confined walls that surrounded her. One day, I'll be somebody, she whispered to herself, gazing out of the frosted window into the vast unknown. But reality was harsh. The matron's footsteps echoed down the hall, bringing with them the dread of chores and discipline. Norma learned early on to find solace in her imagination, creating stories that shielded her from the sting of abandonment. One night, as she stared at the moon, her thoughts turned to her absent mother and the fleeting memories of being held close. She clung to those fragments of love, fueling her resilience. This inner strength, forged in the fires of neglect, would one day propel her to a world where her name would be on everyone's lips. The photo studio buzzed with activity as Norma Jean adjusted her posture under the direction of a stern photographer. It was her first professional shoot, and the transformation was electric. Her auburn hair had been dyed platinum blonde, her makeup perfected to emphasize her features. As she posed for the camera, a flicker of hesitation crossed her eyes. Was she erasing Norma Jean to become Marilyn Monroe? The photographer noticed her unease. "Relax, kid," he said, clicking the shutter. "You're a natural. The camera loves you." And it did. The photos would soon grace magazine covers, launching her into the limelight. But with every click, Norma Jean felt herself slipping further into the image of Marilyn Monroe, a character she wasn't sure she could ever escape. At the end of the shoot, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror, now a stranger. "Marilyn Monroe," she whispered, testing the name aloud. It felt foreign, yet thrilling. A new identity that promised escape, but demanded a price she couldn't yet comprehend. On the set of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Marilyn's laughter echoed through the soundstage as she delivered another iconic line. The crew adored her, charmed by her effortless charisma. Yet beneath the laughter, she battled insecurity, often doubting her own talent. Between takes, she would retreat to her dressing room, where a well-worn book of Chekhov's plays lay on the table. Marilyn would lose herself in the words, dreaming of roles that would challenge her as an actress rather than cement her as a sex symbol. One afternoon, her co-star Jane Russell noticed the book. "You surprise me, Marilyn," Jane said with a smile. "You're a lot smarter than people give you credit for." Marilyn laughed it off, but the compliment lingered in her mind, a small validation of the woman behind the glamour. That night, as she studied her lines, Marilyn vowed to one day prove to the world and herself that there was more to her than a pretty face. The glitzy world of Hollywood wasn't all glitter and joy. Marilyn sat alone in her luxurious Beverly Hills home, a glass of champagne in one hand and a script in the other. The script was another light comedy, the type that had made her a household name but left her artistically unfulfilled. The silence of the house was deafening. She looked at the phone, hoping for a call from someone who cared about Norma Jean, not Marilyn Monroe. Her relationships, both romantic and platonic, often felt transactional, leaving her yearning for genuine connection. As the clock struck midnight, she closed the script and turned to her journal, pouring out her frustrations in writing, a private outlet for the thoughts she dared not share with the world. "Who am I really?" she scrawled on the page. It was a question she couldn't yet answer, but one that haunted her every day. The evening of the Golden Globes was a blur of applause and accolades. Marilyn accepted her award with grace, her eyes glistening as she thanked the audience. "You have no idea how much this means to me," she said, her voice steady, yet filled with emotion. But as she descended the stage, the weight of the trophy in her hands reminded her of the duality of her life. The world celebrated Marilyn Monroe, the star, while Norma Jean struggled to find her place in it. Backstage, a fellow actor approached her. "You're incredible, Marilyn. Absolutely unforgettable. She smiled graciously, but his words felt like they were directed at a character she played, not the person she was. On a rare day off, Marilyn visited a local children's hospital, her presence bringing joy to the young patients. She knelt beside a little girl whose face lit up at the sight of her. Are you a princess? The girl asked, her voice trembling with excitement. Marilyn chuckled softly, brushing a strand of the girl's hair back. Not exactly, she replied, but I do believe in magic. For a few hours, Marilyn found solace in the genuine smiles of the children, their admiration untainted by the expectations of the adult world. As she left the hospital, she felt a pang of sadness. The visit had reminded her of the simplicity and purity she longed for in her own life, a world where she could just be Norma Jean. The applause roared as Marilyn stood on stage at a glitzy charity event, her iconic beauty dazzling under the spotlight. She delivered a heartfelt speech advocating for underprivileged children, a cause close to her heart. I know what it's like to feel invisible, she admitted, her eyes scanning the crowd. But every child deserves to be seen, to be loved. The audience rose to their feet, moved by her words. Yet, as Marilyn stepped off the stage, she felt the familiar void creep in. The adoration was fleeting, a momentary escape from the loneliness that plagued her. She clutched the edge of the podium for support, silently wishing for someone who could see through the glitz to the woman underneath. Marilyn Monroe's life was a mosaic of beauty, pain, and resilience. She was a star who lit up the screen, but behind the scenes she faced battles few could comprehend. Yet through her struggles, she taught the world that even in the brightest light, shadows exist. Her story reminds us that perfection is an illusion and that true strength lies in vulnerability. Marilyn's legacy endures not just as a Hollywood icon, but as a woman who sought connection in a world that often left her feeling alone. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold tales of legendary Hollywood stars.